Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here, coming to give you my first installment of book versus adaptation. And what I'll be reviewing today is You, what has become the very popular Netflix series You. So the way this will work is I will first give you my review of the book, then I will compare it to the series, and finally I will tell you which one I prefer. So You the book follows Joe Goldberg, who works in a bookstore and becomes infatuated with Guinevere Beck, who walks in. From the moment she walks in, he's enamored with her, if that's what you could call it. And he derives multiple plans to try to get to know her. And that's essentially what it's about. Joe trying to get back and doing whatever it takes to get her, once he eventually gets her, to keep her. And we watch the attempts and the derailment of their romance and relationship. And in between that, we have other characters, other sideline stories that really weave it all together. So that's the premise of the book. We get to go inside the mind of a stalker, essentially. Now, what I can say about the book is I cannot remember the last time I so desperately wanted a book to end. I wanted to love this book so badly. However, the writing is fine. It creeps you out from the very beginning. Honestly, the level of which you go into this person's head, their thoughts, their illogic, it's just disturbing because you know that these horrible and horrific things are happening, and you even get to be inside of this person's head while they're completely spiraling. So in that sense, it's a very creative approach to romance, to telling a story of romance, and in that way it's intriguing. However, it just felt long and drawn out. Toward the end, I really wanted the book to end. Even though I wanted to know how the story would finish, I just wanted it to be over. I desperately wanted it to just end. And when it finally ended, there were certain lines, I can say that there are certain lines that the author would use that would kind of spark your interest, but then your interest would wane. So one quick example is just toward the end, without giving too many spoilers away, toward the end when Beck and Joe have a physical altercation, just the way in which we see his range of emotions from extreme anger to what could be classified as remorse and regret to his rationalization. Just the way she describes those things is intriguing. On a grade of A to F, I would only give this book a C. And the reason for that is the storyline itself is intriguing, but it's not completely captivating. I think the writing was fine. I think the writer will probably improve. I think overall she wrote a good story, but it wasn't necessarily my preferred type of writing. I definitely am not a horror person, and I feel like this is along those lines. So I just don't think that it's something that I prefer. Now, book versus adaptation. If you haven't seen the Netflix series, I've been watching it since it was on Lifetime, and I thoroughly enjoyed the series. So much so that when I first discovered it on Lifetime, after seeing so many rave reviews in the New York Times, I recommended it to like everyone I knew. I was like, Lifetime finally has one. This is going to be a smash. And it did become a smash, but not until it made its way to Netflix. Unfortunately, it didn't do well on Lifetime. And Lifetime wasn't going to create a second season. Then it got picked up by Netflix. And that just goes to the way that individuals consume television and film and different things these days. So it became a Netflix hit, and now we have 2 seasons. Just like the book, the series is sexually charged right off the bat. Joe sees Beck and he's attracted to her, and there's this rapport between them, a little banter, and Joe is hooked. And just like the book, Joe doesn't see his desire for her as him being obsessed with her, stalking her. He rationalizes it as she's obsessed with him. She wants him so badly. It's really mind trippy and disturbing. It can honestly be sometimes a little hard to read just because it's uncomfortable. But one thing I always appreciated about both the book and the series, and I think more so in the series, in the adaptation, because the actor who plays Joe, Penn Badgley, who I've been a fan of since Gossip Girl, he does such a phenomenal job. He totally captures what it means to be that character, and I think that's what really carries the series. I'm a big Criminal Minds fan, and one thing that you learn, or that they say often in profiling, is that often criminals are the best profilers. They're the best readers of people, and I think that definitely is clear with Joe. He's able to read all of Beck's friends, with the exception of Peach, but that's a tricky situation. But once he does uncover who she is and what her true desires are, he definitely gets her out of his way. The similarities between the book and the adaptation is the way in which Joe meets Beck, the evolution of their relationship, the relationship with her friends, the relationship with her therapist. Those fundamental pieces are still there. There are tons of differences. One, the book is much creepier, as I've been saying. Also, a big thing in the series that doesn't happen in the book is that he doesn't steal a book from Peach's home. However, Peach and Joe still don't get along from the very beginning. Where Joe and Beck first have sex is different. Joe's relationship with his worker, Curtis, is much different in the book. It's actually much darker. But he does hire someone else who more closely aligns with the character in the adaptation. The way in which he kills Peach is different in the series than the book. Also, how Beck finds out about Joe is different in the series. How Joe kills her is different in the series. One thing about the book is that there's a much longer and detailed description of how Joe kills Beck, what happens after, that we don't get in the series. Now, if I had to say which I prefer, I would definitely say the series. I think the book, as I said before, it's just long and drawn out, but the series itself really moves at a good pace, and it has good actors and good characters, and I think that really carries it along. So I definitely prefer the series to the book. That's it for me. I hope you all enjoyed this. And as always, remember to give time and to have the best day of your life on purpose. Peace. Also, for those of you inquiring, I do still have buttons, my MsMalcolmHughes pins, and the details on how to get those are below.